Cole Thomas Allen. What do we know about this guy? Rob, you have the video of him running. If you have the video of him running, there's a surveillance camera showing this. Go ahead, Rob. This is the guy. He runs a 40, apparently in a 4.241. You should go to the combine. Watch this here.
The Jets want
how
to talk
fast.
to him.
Even the president says this guy was running. So look at him. How fast he's running. Okay. Some said they shot him. Some said he's dead. He wasn't. He did hurt his ankle. They eventually did get him. And then when the president was on stage with his wife, the first lady, this is what was taking place. They're having a conversation. The mentalist is doing not this one. Go to the other one, Rob. You can see the president right there, and then watch the first lady's reaction. I think this is this is a long one you have, Rob. Does it get right into it?
Right off the bat.
Go for it. Go for it. So this is the president, first lady. He's pulling a trick, and you can tell president's very interested.
And the trick is Caroline Levitt's baby's name, which I found out what the name that they look. Because I thought it had my name because you can see V on it.
Watch this.
Guess her name.
Turn it.
Look at Trump. He's really interested.
You're going to start to see loud noise clanking.
They're shooting already. They're already shooting.
You just heard it.
And look, they're shocked at the name. Look.
I know.
Oh, whoa. What's happening?
J.D. Vance is out.
Yeah.
The president's still there.
Oh, wow.
So it takes about 13 seconds to get in front of the president, 20 seconds to get him out. Took about 7, 8, or 10 seconds to get J.D. out. There's a lot of speculation there. Why did they get J.D. out of there before they got the president out of there? And so this is all going on. Now, here's the thing about what we know about the shooter, Thomas Allen Cole. If you want to pull up his picture, Rob. Allen, having sent a 1,052-word anti-Trump manifesto to his family roughly 10 minutes before the assault. It is the third reported attempt on the president's life after 224 assassination attempts in Pennsylvania and Florida. There were 2,600 attendees at this event. Everybody was there. And as they're going through this whole thing, Cole Allen checked into the Washington Hilton as a registered hotel guest the day before on Friday, April 24th. And he wrote, which I'll read to you the manifesto here in a minute, Rob, if you want to pull it up. That's him. Allen was confronted by security near main metal detector screening area of Washington Hilton at 8:36 p.m. He ran past the security checkpoint and fired at least one shot. CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer, who was just outside the ballroom at the time, reported being only a few feet from the gunman when the shots were fired, a very serious weapon. Allen himself sustained a knee injury while he was going through it. Initial Secret Service agents fired approximately 3 to 4 shots, and Allen fired one. He had a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. His sister told investigators that Allen purchased 2 handguns and a shotgun from Cap Tactical Firearms and stored them in the family home without parents knowing about it. And so he's 31 years old, hometown Torrance. He went to Caltech University. If you know Caltech, that's not an easy school to get into. It's a very, very reputable school, Caltech. He did intern at NASA in 2014. Allen completed an internship at NASA working for artificial intelligence models for planetary mapping. He was a part-time teacher, tutor at C2 Education in Torrance. Since 2020, he was the Teacher of the Month in December of 2024. Okay, and so this is not like it's a regular guy. Independent video game developer is who he was. He gave $25 to Act Blue, the Democratic Party PAC, in October of 2024, directed towards Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. A yard sign at his family home endorsed a local judicial candidate backed by the LA County Democratic Party. He was registered to vote without party affiliation. He participated at the No Kings protest in California. And social media accounts attributed to Allen containing anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric. He frequently trained at a shooting range and had undergone firearms training. His brother, residing in New London, Connecticut, contacted the New London Police Department about Allen's manifesto. However, that call came approximately 2 hours after the shooting had already occurred. The brother was the family member who alerted law enforcement. As of Monday, Allen has not cooperated with the local, in custody. He's not talking to anybody whatsoever. And as you're going through this in the manifesto, which I'll read here in a minute after getting the team's reaction, there's a bunch of other things. He's facing a minimum of 10 years in prison, up to 20 years. Caroline Levitt stated Allen sought to assassinate the president and kill as many top Trump officials as possible. He came to this place on a Amtrak from LA to Chicago and then Chicago to DC, not a flight. So he used Amtrak while he's coming down here. So anyways, I'll pause right there before we read the manifesto and show a couple other clips because I'm going to get into that next. Tom, your thoughts on how this happened and the story of it.
Before Tom talks, man, the reason why this is a hot topic because we got to get at how all this happened in the first place. What made this man want to destroy this life, basically, and in making his attempts to taking a trip all the way to Washington, D.C. from Torrance, California, on the train, go through Chicago to come to D.C. and make an attempt to try to kill not only the president, but cause as much damage as an individual as he possibly can. Didn't make it through the first layer of protection for the president, which I don't know if you heard, but the guy had checked in to the hotel. I'm not sure when, however, it's a security threat anyway, with regards to this event, because you got to think about this guy was on the level on top of where this particular event was happening, right? So necessarily, if he wanted to cause the most damage, what if this possibly could have been a bomb or something like that, right? He wouldn't even have to do all of what he did. Secondly, when I look at this whole issue, is okay, so if he went into this by himself, what if there were multiple attackers, right? And what I mean by that is, what if there were, this was a crew of 5 instead of 1? How many layers would it have taken for him to get through, just in terms of his own team, for him to absolutely have to reach the president, right? And I'm thinking that it would have took 5 people, because basically if he was able to make it, just as far as he was able to make it, if there were multiple people, and they would have had to pretty much go down and shoot down multiple individuals, right? If he was the only person, he was able to make it through the metal detectors, and that's what his primary goal was. Once he saw the metal detectors, it seemed like he just bolted, took a run for it. Didn't seem in shape, because ain't no way you about to just break your ankle. He got off a shot. Now, instead of a shotgun, what do you plan on doing with a shotgun? He had a shotgun, and I believe he had 2 pistols and about 4 knives. What do you plan on doing? How much damage do you plan to assert on this event with a shotgun? I want to get into this. The reason why this is a hot topic, and I'm going to take this off of there just on the basis of respect, because Trump's assassination attempt should not be a hot topic. Of course, I'm not that crazy. However, it's a hot topic on how does this all happen. There's a thing about with regards to the rhetoric that is occurring for on Donald Trump, all of the misinformation that is being spread about with regards to the Trump agenda, who he really is as a person, as a person, and all this other stuff, right? It's been darts being shot back and forth. You got to admit, right? But more on the Trump side is being honest about the whole situation instead of the left. Let me let him continue so we can get a little bit more detail.
Well, I have 2 things to say. One is clever. The other is radicalized. Clever. Why did he take a train? Because you would have to check bags and declare a weapon and have it in a locked weapons box. Vinny, you and I have traveled, with like a hunting gear, shotgun. You have to have it in a locked box. You check it in, you declare it, they inspect it, and then you get on the plane, because obviously it's not in your carry-on. Well, he would have had to do that. So the reason he takes the train, in my opinion, and the opinion of people that have been analyzing this, he doesn't have to declare anything. He just hides it. He just puts it in his bag there, and he takes it in, takes his seat, and goes on the 72-hour train ride. And so, number one, he seems very clever. Number two, when you read the manifesto, he seems very clever. But I'm going to put all that aside, Pat. The word is radicalized. This is a guy who, by all accounts, is smart. You're not dumb to go into Caltech, and you're studying AI, and you're working with NASA, and you're working with high-end things. And now you're a teacher. And the teachers in LA, whether you're in Manhattan Beach or Hermosa Beach or, LAUSD, which is LA Unified School District, largest school district in the United States, it says these are radicalized. Kim taught at LAUSD back in the day. They are absolutely radicalized. They are anti-conservative, anti-Christian, all of that. And so it appears what takes him from being at Caltech, Pat, to riding a train with a shotgun and to writing that manifesto, the answer is radicalized. Someplace the bit flipped and the guy was completely radicalized and decided he could do this. But you can see there's a rational side of thought. First, I want to apologize to my family, apologize to my friends.
You're talking about the manifesto?
The manifesto. It's well written.
Well, let me read that. Let me read that first, and then, Vinny, I'm going to come to you next.
That's what I think.
Hello, everybody. So I may have given a lot of a surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whom I trust. Rob, can you zoom in a little bit? I apologize to my parents for saying that I had an interview without specifying anyone reasons. I probably most non-targeted people at the hotel who I put in danger and simply by being near. I apologize to everyone who abused or murdered before this, to all those who suffered before I was able to attempt to do this, to all who may still suffer from this, regardless of my success or failure. I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could have seen any other way to get this close, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apologies. On to why I did this. I'm a U.S. citizen. What my representative reflects on me. I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and a traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. Well, to be completely honest, I was no longer willing to a long time ago, but this is the first real opportunity we had to do something about it. Go to page 2, Rob, if you could. While I'm discussing this, I'll also go over my expected rules of engagement, probably in a terrible format, but I'm not military I am not military, so too bad. Administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, why he says that, it's interesting.
Very
yes.
weird.
They are targets, prioritized from the highest ranking to the lowest. Secret Service, they are targets only if necessary and to be incapacitated, non-lethally if possible, a.k.a. I hope they're wearing body armor because center mass with shotguns mess people up who aren't. Hotel security, not targets if at all possible, a.k.a. unless they shoot at me. Capitol Police, same as Hotel Police. National Guard, same as Hotel Police. Hotel employees, not targets at all. Guests, not targets at all. In order to minimize casualties, I will also be using buckshot rather than slugs, less penetration through walls. I would still go through most everyone here to get the targets if it were absolutely necessary, on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, and traitor and are thus complicit. But I really hope it doesn't come to that. There's more, Rob, I think, because there's something he says about Iran. Do you have the one where he says, quite honestly, it wasn't that hard to get into? He says, hey, there's...
it's the PS part, Pat. Once he's done, he goes into a PS.
You have the PS?
Yes,
Read
yes.
the PS.
He goes, PS. Okay.
Not POS, PS.
Yeah, PS.
Go ahead.
Well,
Okay, now that all that sappy stuff is done, what the hell is Secret Service doing? Sorry, gonna rant here for a bit and drop the formal tone. Like I expected, security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got, in parentheses, who knows, maybe they're pranking me, is nothing. No damn security, not in the transport, not in the hotel, not the event. Like, the whole thing that I immediately noticed walking into the hotel is a sense of arrogance. I walk in with multiple weapons. Not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. The security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals, because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before. Like, this level of incompetence is insane. And I very sincerely hope it's corrected by the time this country gets actually competent leadership again. Like, if I was an Iranian agent instead of an American citizen, I could have brought a damn madus. And madus, for you guys that don't know, is where you have to sit down, and it's one of those, that thing is, it's huge. He's saying I could have brought a madus in here, and no one would ever notice SHIT. Actually insane is what he says.
So what do you think about the whole thing?
Well, first, Pat, reading, like, it's freaking sad. Like, he was captured by the political propaganda, full stop. Like, look at how he sounds. He sounds like a nice carrot. Like, I know he's kind of off, but think about it. He's apologizing for the people, Adam, that even handled his luggage, getting him on the train to get to the place. I'm sorry to my parents. I'm sorry. He's even going through rules of engagement of, I'm not going to, the Capitol Police are not this. It's really, really sad, Pat. And the manifesto tells you that he was, radicalized. But you know what part stuck out to me? He checks into the hotel on Friday, cased the place. He's been at the No Kings rally. The messaging inside the rest of the manifesto was anti-Christian. And the fact that this is the scary part, and I'm going to get to the security right now. I'm going to have Rob play the video of the J.D. Vance, the vice president, and the president. Pat, he was checked into the hotel since Friday. No security, no nothing. The arrogance part really stuck out for me. Can you imagine? Just remember the shooting in Las Vegas? How much arsenal, Rob, did that guy bring upstairs? It was insane at the MGM. Was it the MGM shooting, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, Rob, MGM. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. If he kept doing multiple trips and kept bringing up explosives, he could have blown up that entire freaking building if he wanted to and taken out the vice president, the president, all of our leadership all in one spot. And I think it's actually ridiculous that they let him get to that. And I want to point out this failure by Secret Service. This is my...
Yeah, it seemed like he's going to get into how did you get J.D. Vance out before you end up getting Donald Trump out. Donald Trump is a little bit older in age. It's a little bit more understandable. I don't see the narrative in necessarily pushing that. You see J.D. Vance get up out of his seat. He hops up out of his seat a lot quicker than President Trump did. President Trump was distracted at the moment. By the time he didn't even realize what was going on, and when he did realize what was going on, it was already a Secret Service agent in front of him standing to defend him and shield him from taking on any bullets as he continued to look on. So I don't see the narrative in necessarily going because I seen the guy who stepped in front of Trump way before I did J.D. Vance get out. I'm not going to say way before, but the guy who stepped to shield the front of Trump as Trump's attention was caught on this trick that was trying to be made with regards to him being entertained at the moment, right? Which was a nice. You can go even further than that and speculate to what was that guy doing up there trying to show him a trick, right? But I don't want to get into all that, right? Because I'm not a person with regards to the conspiracy theories and all that, even though it's a lot of, stuff that people can manipulate as he want to go into with regards to J.D. Vance getting out first. I want to go to Janine Shapiro, talk about the charges that's going to be brought up on this dude, because, like I said, it's all about how does this all take place? How does Cole Allen feel like he needs to go and make an attack on the president with a shotgun? I mean, his artillery is not nothing necessarily that I would say that you would go and make an attack on. Like, you're not, why would you want to sit there with a pump action gun, something, when there's going to be guns? So it's almost seemed like the dude wanted to get caught. Could you be so stupid to want to go in this place with a shotgun, something that you got to pump in order to shoot? And at the same time, you had 4 knives and 1 pistol. You was better off using the pistol. And I don't know what the weapon that the Secret Service agent got shot with, but to me, you was better off trying to use that pistol to get through that door, at least the first layer, and saving that shotgun for whatever else you had to do next. And it's crazy to me, right? So what I want to do, I want to take it over. Let me see which one this is. I want to take it over here real fast to Janine Shapiro talking about the charges. With some more of the Trump administration.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. On Saturday night, as you all know, an act of violence occurred at a gathering that symbolizes something fundamental to our system of government: the ability of a free press and public officials to come together in celebration and not fear. The act was stopped because of the courage and, that horrible act was stopped because of the courage and professionalism of law enforcement. The officers who responded without hesitation and did their jobs as they were trained to do. Secret Service agents promptly tackled and detained the suspect, Cole Thomas Allen. The president and all the protectees and participants at the dinner were safe. One brave officer was injured and is receiving care and has been released from the hospital. I want to make this clear. This man was a floor above the ballroom with hundreds of federal agents between him and the President of the United States. The Department of Justice approaches incidents like this with urgency and clarity of purpose. Violence has no place in civic life. It cannot and will not be used to disrupt democratic institutions or intimidate those who serve them, and it certainly cannot continue to be used against the President of the United States. We are investigating this matter fully. We will apply the law fairly, and we will ensure that accountability is swift and certain. But we also should recognize what did not happen. Law enforcement did not fail. They did exactly what they are trained to do. This was not an accident. It was the result, as we know now, of preparation. But the men and women who protected us that night were trained, professional, and had an enduring commitment to the rule of law.
Man, I don't care if one person versus 100. You can have one. That's like a person going into somebody's, neighborhood or whatever and trying to have a shootout, right? And thinking they gonna make it out with a group of guys. Now, it's a possibility if you catch the guys off guard, but the guy was primarily trying to get through the metal detectors before anything. So the Secret Service agent wasn't the target. You can absolutely establish that, because if he wanted the Secret Service agents, if he really wanted to kick stuff off, he could have kicked it off. If he had an automatic weapon, he could have kicked it off where the metal detector at that first layer. But because of his weaponry, he had to rush through that metal detector because apparently with what he had, there is no way possible that he believed that he was going to make it through the door. This was a showing of attention. Like, this is something for namesake, for me to get a little attention, seek something up out of this besides me actually believing that I'm going to get to Donald Trump and make an assassination attempt with this. So with all the conspiracy theories that have come out, like why J.D. Vance get up out of here first? Why was Donald Trump being distracted with the guy that was doing the tricks? I don't believe it, because in the first instance alone, this guy didn't plan on making it up out of this thing. This guy didn't plan on doing that much damage and take it seriously. To me, it's just a guy who wanted to seek attention at the moment. Luckily, he didn't get killed himself, broke his ankle, or whatever he had an ankle injury, twisted it, whatever. Apparently he was out of shape. No matter how fast he run, he was just a slender dude. I run fast as some receivers, and I'm like 230 pounds. So at 6 foot, so I am out of shape. I ain't gonna lie. However, I do run a lot. I do work out, right? Apparently this guy he doesn't, because ain't no way you just gonna take a sprint from it. With this, at least he got a shot off, but he lucky he didn't get killed. But I think there's a change in the political climate, right, to where we necessarily got to talk about, because it's something in Donald Trump that will have this man getting attacked 3 times. And Donald Trump kind of says it's when you make change, when you want the country to change, it's all people always want to assassinate the individuals who has the most impact and wants to make the most difference. And I believe I can key on what that difference is, right? Let it continue a little bit longer.
Today, the Department of Justice filed 3 federal charges in United States District Court against Cole Thomas Allen. The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. This count is punishable by up to life in prison. The second count is interstate transportation of a firearm to commit a felony. This is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. And the third count is discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, which is punishable by a mandatory minimum term of imprisonment of 10 years, a maximum of life, and the 10 years is consecutive to any other sentence imposed. Just to go through very quickly the timeline, which many of you in this room already know. The defendant, Allen, made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for April 24th through April 26th. On April 21st of this year, he traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then from Chicago to Washington, D.C. On April 24th, he arrived in Washington, D.C. at approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon and checked into the Washington Hilton. Approximately at 8:40 on the night of April 25th, Allen approached a security checkpoint on the terrace level of the hotel, which is again a floor above where the dinner was taking place. He ran through the magnetometer holding a long gun. As he did so, U.S. Secret Service personnel assigned to the checkpoint heard a loud gunshot. One Secret Service officer was shot in the chest, but was wearing a ballistic vest that worked. This heroic officer who was hit fired 5 times at Allen, who was not shot, but fell to the ground and was promptly arrested. I want to thank everybody who worked tirelessly on Saturday, Sunday, and continuing today. This includes members of the FBI, and Director Patel is going to address that in a minute. It includes members of the Metropolitan Police Department who were immediately on the scene, the chief, the mayor, to make sure that law enforcement was available to do their jobs and had all the tools they needed to do so. And lastly, the United States Attorney's Office here in D.C., our U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro and her team. A prosecutor stayed up all night long, didn't sleep all day yesterday, making sure that we got what we needed from all over the country. It included search warrants in California, search warrants here in D.C., multiple interviews that have been conducted already of witnesses and of family members of the charged individual, and continue to work hard today. This investigation is ongoing. It's not complete. A lot of the information that the media is hearing through leaks or sources, some of it is true, some of it is not true, and at the right time, you will hear information from us as appropriate. I'd like to ask our U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, to say a few words, and then followed by Director Patel. Thank you.
So you can see most definitely that this guy, I mean, if he stayed above the ballroom where the event was happening, that's one. I mean, just look at the fact that this would have been happening with a team. If this would have happened with a team, the things could have been a lot more different, a lot more artillery. He could have most definitely held down that first layer. right? Not personally, but with a team. And then he could have absolutely been the guy who had continued on rushed, and they could have continued to try to break through the layers. And who knows what could have happened at that point. Because the way that guy rushed through that thing, he could have been the ultimate distraction if he had a semi-automatic weapon to cause an assortment of damage to where people would have gotten a lot more hurt. While at the same time, other people just kept on coming and coming and coming and coming. So I don't necessarily see it as, the Secret Service did a good job for one individual, but who to say that they would do a good job for a team? I would suspect that, of course, they would do a checkup on all the individuals who are staying at the hotel at that moment. It's only right that they would do a check. With this guy's record, no red flags had possibly occurred, which he was on any type of watch list, right? But if he could have been from one of these radicalized organizations, yeah, it possibly would be a red flag. But you cannot stop the hotel from making money in the process of this whole thing, right? The hotel still has the right to make its money, do what it's due in order to continue its business as the state and the federal government's hosting this whole event, or is using this whole event to host this specific conference at that hotel, right? My main thing is, how do you get to this point to where you have this individual wanting to attack Donald Trump, wanting to cause this disruption? It's not even, an impactful one. You couldn't even get through the first layer, right? So this is a stunt to me, in which this guy was trying to seek some attention for what, for why, for whom. When did he get radicalized if this all begins to occur? How long has he been having these feelings? So nothing important is coming out with regards to this right now. Nothing important.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Cole Allen's journey of accountability in the criminal justice system starts today. Todd Blanche just indicated to you the charges. Those charges are only 3 charges that are in the complaint that has been presented in federal district court about an hour ago. There will be additional charges as this investigation continues to unfold. But make no mistake, this was an attempted assassination of the President of the United States, with the defendant making clear what his intent was. And that intent was to bring down as many of the high-ranking cabinet officials as he could. This is the kind of situation that we cannot tolerate. And as the Attorney General has just indicated, it could have been so much worse, but for the reality that we had the Secret Service, as well as the Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI. Now, the facts make it very clear what this intent was. You may recall that it was on March 2nd that the president indicated that he would be attending this public event at the Hilton. And on April 6th, that's when Cole Allen first made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for 3 nights, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. It was on April 21st that he traveled all the way from the West Coast, from his home near L.A. He gets to Chicago on April 23rd, and has been indicated he arrives in D.C. on the 24th, and he checks into the hotel at about 3 p.m. He stays overnight. He is very much aware that the president and the first lady entered the ballroom at 8 p.m. And it was at 8:40 that he made a decision to rush the ballroom. And thank goodness, law enforcement, the Secret Service, was able to prevent him from getting into that ballroom. He was not injured other than some kind of scrape on his knee. Now, as indicated, these are the weapons that the defendant had on his person. You can see that's a 12-gauge pump-action Mossberg shotgun. It's a .38 semi-automatic. He had at least 3 knives and all kinds of paraphernalia. So any suggestion that he wasn't there to do harm is absurd.
Yeah, we cannot say that he was not there to do some type of harm, right? My only thing about this whole little issue is how do you think that you're going to cause some big harm with a pump-action shotgun, a small semi-automatic weapon, and 4 knives? You didn't get a chance because you tripped to basically do anything. You got off one shot to a Secret Service agent. Luckily that you didn't get shot. I'm surprised with all the gunfire that was happening, and then, you only heard 3 shots ring out. You only heard 3 shots ring out through the whole event. I don't think it was a good job that was done by the Secret Service agency. Right? First of all, the guy is still living. He didn't get unalive. For him to rush through there like that, it's like as soon as one of the Secret Service agents turns their back, this guy rushes. President Donald Trump is being distracted. J.D. Vance is going out first. Even though it's not that much longer, it's not that much before Trump goes out. Trump is a little bit older. J.D. Vance probably noticed the noise before Donald Trump did because Donald Trump is being distracted. But, however, around the same time, there is a Secret Service agent that stands in front of Donald Trump to shield him from any attack, while the Secret Service agent is looking for where the shots are coming from. Are they in the room, or where are they? So with all the conspiracy theories that are going to try to come out with regards to this, right? Because I know that there most definitely are. There were a lot that came out with Charlie Kirk whole issue. So you could see, I'm just trying to see at what angle they're going to try to throw these conspiracy theories. However, this is the guy that wanted attention. And the main thing, besides all the radical talk that I feel that is coming out from the left with regards to the falsehoods they consistently putting out about Trump, this is one reason why I call this the Trumped Up Live Show, right? Is because it's to read through the real and the fake. What's real and what's fake? It's trumped up. What's trumped up and what is not? What can we believe and what can't we believe? What shouldn't we allow ourselves to believe? And the other side is why I call this the Trumped Up Live Show, is because I believe Donald Trump is the person who a lot of men can learn from. A lot of men should see. We got to remember that Donald Trump has been an individual that his entire life, even if he didn't know he was going to become the president one day, his entire life has been practice for this particular moment. One thing's for sure, real estate. He got him doing the ballroom. You got him building up Washington. You got him doing so much in terms of trying to reimagine the decor of the country, which brings also into the decor of the country in terms of culture and leadership. And for another thing, Donald Trump, so he's a man I believe that should be studied. They've called the guy a racist. And one of the things that he got in with this whole idea with being a racist come from his first term. And I believe that Donald Trump had got caught up in that. And because he was not an individual who was a political professional. And through advice, you can tell that he thought that he had to play to his constituency so much that he let it evolve his first term. He let it evolve the stance in which how his first term was being projected out into the citizenry of this country, as him being a racist, as him playing too much towards the white American power system that has been a part of this country for so long. And then when you think about MAGA, the term alone, which comes out of the Ronald Reagan era, makes you believe with all the impact that happened under the Ronald Reagan era when it comes to the effect of how MAGA negatively impacted the black American culture, right? In terms of the war on drugs, the defunding of schools, the continuance of sending jobs overseas, to the building of prison systems, all the negative impact that Donald Trump, with the culture of the first MAGA under Ronald Reagan, had to kind of flush out. And this is why I believe his second term is so much of a better term, because out of this political profession that he has taken on, with this political profession that he has now taken on, now he knows that he can only be himself. He doesn't need the advice of other people. He's going to stand on who he is more than he is the advice that he's receiving from other people. The only negative impact that I believe that he's gotten is with the Iranian war. The Iranian war has hurt this second term more than anything. But when you look at all the things that happened, which led to this point of him being of us having to have an operation, not a war in Iran, you can understand why we had to most definitely go into Iran, with Obama giving the Iranians all them billions of dollars, pretty much allowing it to build a nuclear weapon and to start to develop and having a real chance of developing a nuclear weapon with no intricacies of us being able to see from a perspective of how much China was having an influence around us. We wouldn't know how much China would be having an influence around us if it wasn't for Trump. We was being surrounded to, man, it's so much when you think about Trump that Donald Trump has brought out with regards to what the left has been doing to capture the mindset of the American people. And yeah, they're doing that. But you know what I believe that's really happening under the Donald Trump this term is that what you're seeing under Donald Trump's term right now currently is that you're seeing a man that is on a mission. And when I say a man that's on a mission, I mean a man. When you see that Donald Trump is taking this country out of the distraction of feminism. When you see that the moves that he has been making, when he's saying that we're not going to accept man and woman sports, we're not going to accept us be looking like fools to the other country, us be appearing weak to the other countries, that, yeah, we want to be a peaceful country. However, don't mean we won't slap you in the face when we need to. How he gets up every day, he puts on his suit at 79 years old, and he does every day something that he's been practicing, that he's already had been practicing for his entire life. And then he give you a learning lesson about it. He's being like a big brother to the country. And it's something that we've gotten into this country where we have gotten out of this mindset of celebrating masculinity. When a man is fully able to be a man, it is not accepted in this country. And I'm not talking about an abusive man, right? I'm not talking about domestic violence. I'm not talking about none of that. What I'm talking about is when a man asserts himself like a man. Like, I know my capabilities. I know what mission I am on, and I'm here to achieve that mission. I know I'm going to go through attacks because that's what a man does. All the attacks that has been against Donald Trump, it's been an attack on the masculinity in this country, on being soft. When Donald Trump says we're looking weak, it's been an attack on masculinity, appreciation of what a man does in separation from a woman. We have got to get in this appreciation of not only a celebration of women, but know that there is a balance to the relationship of masculinity and femininity. Masculinity and femininity is two different things. Masculinity doesn't have time to care about once you have a goal. And see, this is why, when this happened, I read a Bible scripture. In it, Hebrews 4:12, which stated that no matter what a man does, what's important to God is that God understands the heart of man. Why nobody else understands nothing else. They just look at a man for what he's doing and the ways of the world at that moment or whatever. God knows a man's intent. And when I say that, I have seen nothing about the man that would necessarily deter me, even though I might like, okay, what's really going on, right? Because that's my job as a man, to have an understanding for what's going on. But there is nothing that I have seen from this man that to where he absolutely wants us to be divided. He sees what's dividing. He sees that it's illegal immigration, it's immigration, it's us having too many influences from too many countries, and from a political perspective and from a geographical perspective. From an economic perspective, he has to look at all these other things and be a man and determine where is our weaknesses at and how can we do anything better. There was a female who I was talking at one time, and she was going into something because she was going into how Donald Trump was going about doing things. And I told her, I was like, okay, well, I said, if that was your man, would you like him if he wasn't like that? If he wasn't going about it exactly the way that Donald Trump was going about it, would you be attracted to him if he was being soft about it? Basically, in so many words. And she thought about it. And she like, no, I wouldn't like that dude. Through all this, right? I'm gonna weed through all of the crap, and I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. We have gotten out of this era where masculinity is not celebrated enough so that a man can lead in this country. Think of a man who is not, being sissified, or at the same time, pouring himself so much into a female and that is actually trying to be a man in the household. Because I literally see Trump trying to run this like a country, like he will run his own home. And as being a great leader at that, and why he should be a man that should be looked at in so many other different ways besides of this villain that is trying to take away a lot of what's being built in this country, and is primarily what's been going wrong in this country for the last how many years. Not only from the stance of a feminine and a masculine perspective, but from a racial perspective, from a country's perspective, from an economics perspective. All this stuff that a man has to have on his shoulders, and he's been carrying it because he's been practicing his entire life for this particular moment. And he's only getting better and better and better and better and better at it. When you see him come into office and you see him strike at business the way he does, he's ran this entire second term of this administration before where he didn't know who to pick to be a part of his administration and his team. This second term, now that he knows who to pick, who he wants to be a part of his team, if you're not doing a good job, he's going to fire you. All these things, as he's been a businessman, been in real estate, has been a force in the community for so long, has been messing with black people for so long, black Americans for so long. When you look at his history, he has been preparing for this moment the entire time. And the way I become more of a man is by reading scripture, by reading the Bible, by understanding the man that God wants me to be. And here he is, he trying to be a man and bring Christianity back into the center of this nation, where we know who we are. We're not a country who we don't know what we believe in. We're not a country who are going to sit there and take it from the backside. And what I mean by that is we're not going to allow too many other countries have so much of an influence in our country to where we don't know who we are. We don't know if we're switching to Mexico. We don't know if we're switching to Venezuela. We don't know if we're switching to China. We don't know if we're switching to... No. We have a lineage in this country that we need to appreciate. we have a lineage in this country of men who have fought, died, bled, sweat, tears, protested, created a system that where everybody else could appreciate. We cannot be wrongfully influenced by the outside forces when we know who we are from within, and he's know who he is from within, and the only thing that he wants to see is this country be the best in the world. And when you look at his children, you see he wants his children to be the same. So when they be like, look at a man's family, how he chose J.D. Vance into becoming his vice president. One of the key things he looked at what had J.D. Vance been doing. And one of the key aspects he looked on to see if was he a family man. So this is a moment to where I think everybody's pretty much has gotten it wrong with regards to the rhetoric that's been coming from the left. The rhetoric that's been coming from the left primarily, I don't necessarily think that it has to do more than of an attack on Donald Trump than an attack on masculinity in this country, to where we are not allowing our men to be leaders. We're not allowing our men to assume the role that they have traditionally been able to play in this country, right? And I'm not talking about the abusive men. I'm not talking about the womanizer. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm talking about the individuals who wants to be family man, wants to create a legacy for his family, and leave that legacy behind so that his family can live off of. Because when you think about that, that doesn't have no way to allow you to interfere with allowing someone to come to your house and take over. I don't care if it's your brother, if it's your uncle, it could be your dad. This is a house that I built, and I'm not talking about particularly Donald Trump in a sense, but this is a house that I've been building. You're not going to come into my house changing things around when I have already set the rules. We have already, as a country, set the rules for who we are in this country, to be wrongfully influenced, to let somebody come in our house, tell us who we are. And this is why the Democratic Party just sucks. Because time after time again, we've been showing that the left's been accepting bribes from foreign countries. Not only bribes, but has been accepting money, donations. Are they somehow trying to have influence in other countries? Which is, in some aspects, it's a good thing. But it's a point to where it becomes corrupt. It becomes abusive. And it becomes a point to how are all you politicians making all this money? Trump says, look, I don't need the money. I don't need this money. Matter of fact, keep the money. I got enough. I care about the country. I care about getting my house in order. I care about that. I leave a legacy for my kids in being United States citizens to live off of. And I want to be a leader to give that to every single American. I want all Americans to be rich. And if you don't appreciate America, then we don't want you here. When you say the same thing to your brother, your cousin, I don't care if it's your daddy. Your daddy got a right to tell you what to do in his house. But when it's your house, your daddy got to follow the rules of your house, right or wrong. So I think at this pivotal moment, what we're really fighting is to regain a sense of appreciating masculinity in this country, to where the feminist movement has diluted the country so much so that men are not allowed to be men. That if a man tries to be a man, that he's going to be under attack. That's what I see out the Trump era, out the Trump term, out this second term. It's not necessarily, because you can throw darts all you want left, but the darts the darts that you are throwing, they got a women's style to them. They got a female body to them. And that's real. As you continue going on, as you listen to the left's rhetoric, and it may calm down for a while, but they're going to go back to doing exactly what they do, right? Kind of key in on that for a moment. And kind of key on what Donald Trump is doing. Because Donald Trump is a man on a mission. More than anything else. And he's not going to let anybody deter him from that. Tony Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live show. Always remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. It's a good day to be a soldier.
They said transformation was impossible. Faith, facts, and fire. Tiny Cross-H.U.G style.